research and dissertations and having some presentations along that area. The teacher advocacy will focus on teacherpreneurship and value-added performance, enriching instruction using digital tools, psychogeometrics, professional learning communities, and teaching with poverty in mind. In organizational leadership, we're looking at creating a culture of excellence, entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, multiculturalism, strategic planning, organizational transformation, and quality assurance. Our research strand, and this actually will be offered downstairs in the theater, basics for writing a dissertation, methodology, and how to write a research report. Now, this complete agenda is in your program, and if you have any questions, just see one of us or someone at the table or Dr. John Balls. Our breakout sessions will be in this room and the room immediately to my right. Teacher advocacy will be in the room to the right, and the organizational leadership will be in this room, so you can check your agendas for that and be able to choose which one you would like to improve. We're committed to continuous improvement, so please give us some feedback at the end of this conference. There's in your notebook a feedback form which is perforated, so you can just fill it out and pull it out and then leave it with us. Our presentations will be on the website very shortly. Dr. Balls is in the process of taking care of that. I have copies for those who come to my presentation here, but everything will be provided on our Gardner-Webb site. Go to the Gardner-Webb site and into the CILD site. We do have continuing education opportunities, so if you go by the registration desk, that form is there. Our bookstore is open for you downstairs. I hope you get an opportunity just to browse through and go through. It's really been a great addition to our campus. I have an information table here at the main entrance, so if you need any help with anything, we have some people there that can assist you. If you're looking at Wi-Fi service, there's an information insert in your program that will help you with that. So with that said, we certainly appreciate you attending. We've recognized communities and schools. What our current doctoral students, if you're a current doctoral student in our program, would you please stand? Good representation. We hope that you leave this with a better, we've got campus sites in Winston-Salem, Statesville, Charlotte. We're actually looking at even some additional sites for next year. So for some of these people, I'm sure it may be the first time they've actually been on campus. From the Godwall School of Business, or with those students, I know we had some MBA registrations and maybe some others. If you're in the program in the School of Business, would you stand? Thank you. We have the School of Ed faculty here, full-time faculty. If you're a full-time faculty member of the School of Ed, would you please stand? We currently have about 136 adjuncts in the School of Education because we do operate out of 16 or 17 sites around the state. So any adjuncts here, in addition to our full-time, accelerated doctorate. And faculty out of the Godwall School of Business, got faculty from that area. I know I saw something in there, but there they are. I think it tells us something when our faculty sit in the very back row. We're very pleased this morning to have our guest speaker, Walter Dalton, with us. Walter began teaching political science at Gardner-Webb University in 2013. 2008, he was elected as the 33rd Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina. During his tenure as Lieutenant Governor, he worked closely with small business and others to create a small business assistance fund. He chaired the award-winning Jobs Commission, which is joining our business and schools, to better align educational efforts with 21st century workforce needs. And he chaired the Logistics Task Force, developing a comprehensive statewide plan to move people and goods into the coming decades. He also served as president of the North Carolina Senate. Prior to becoming Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Dalton served 12 years in the State Senate, where he chaired the Education Committee and later the Appropriations Committee. While a senator, he was honored by Gardner-Webb University with an honorary doctorate of humanities degree. In addition, he received recognition from Gardner-Webb's Gardner School of Business. In 2012, he was a Democratic nominee for governor of North Carolina. Walter Dalton and Lucille Dalton, his high school sweetheart, have been married 41 years and are proud parents of 2 children and 1 grandchild. He is a graduate of Keenan Flagler School of Business at UNC Chapel Hill and a graduate of UNC School of Law. He practiced law in Rutherford, North Carolina for over 30 years before becoming Lieutenant Governor. He was also recently selected to become the next president of Isothermal Community College in Rutherford, North Carolina. Let's give a welcome to Walter Dalton.
Thank you, Dr. Uri, for the kind introduction, and thank you for your leadership. And John Balls, thank you for all you have done in reference to this conference. Dr. Nick Benamor, it's always good to be with you, and I appreciate your friendship. Certainly want to thank the Center for Innovative Leadership Development, the Center for Ethics and Entrepreneurship, and all the corporate sponsors which have been responsible for this summer conference. I think it's a wonderful thing. Particular thanks to Gardner-Webb University, the leadership of Dr. Bonner and Dr. Leslie and many others. As Dr. Uri said, I taught here last semester. I served as general counsel to the university, and it truly was one of the most rewarding and satisfying experiences in my life. And when we talk about ethics and when we talk about leadership, I think it is personified right here at Gardner-Webb University. You know, ethics is absolutely critical. You will find out that whatever business you may be in, you're not going to accomplish much if you don't have credibility, if you don't have that ethical compass. Gardner-Webb University has a high-performance team with ethical standards because they really know how to work together. And as I will say in a moment, it's really important to have a collaborative atmosphere, and if you have that at Gardner-Webb University, I think to a great degree you have it so well because you're anchored in the Christian faith. And having that moral compass, having those roots that will keep you ethical and keep you respecting people, being open and transparent, I think is absolutely key in today's business world. I think it's wonderful to be here, to be talking about imagination and innovation, but I think it's important to understand why are we here talking about imagination and innovation. We're here talking about it because times have been tough. We've come through one of the toughest recessions our nation has ever seen. We have seen the world change. In North Carolina, we have seen federal trade policies send jobs in manufacturing offshore. We saw a financial crisis that dried up money for big and small businesses. We see confusion now in the economy. In North Carolina, we had the giants of textiles, tobacco, and furniture. They're no longer the giants that they used to be, and people are saying, what do? We need someone to innovate. We need someone with an imagination to recreate this economy. It truly has been chaotic. It's like the doctor, the lawyer, and the engineer that sat around one time talking about which was the first profession. And the doctor said, well, it's very, very simple. You go to the book of Genesis, the very first book of the Bible, and it says he took a rib from Adam and made Eve. That required surgery. It's very obvious that the medical profession was the very first profession. And the engineer said, oh yes, but wait, go back to the very first verses of Genesis. And it says, out of the chaos, he created the heavens and the earth. That's an architectural principle. That's an engineering principle. We were the first profession. And the lawyer laughed and said, who do you think created the chaos? It has been a very chaotic time, a chaotic economy, but there was a wonderful young lady that came to work for me at the Lieutenant Governor's office. She had 2 degrees from Duke University, her undergraduate degree, her law degree. I forgave her for that. But as I interviewed her, she was named one of the top 40, under 40 in the Triangle area. She was an officer in the Minority Contractors Association. She had everything going for her. And I said, Cynthia, with such a chaotic time as we have right now, why would you want to come to work for the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina? And she thought a moment. She says, because out of chaos can come opportunity. Out of chaos can come opportunity. I thought it was a great answer. No matter whatever else she said, I was going to hire that young lady because I thought it was a wonderful answer. But it also says it is an opportunity for imaginative minds. It's an opportunity for people to create new businesses. We're dying for that right now. But what we have to understand is it's not the first time we've faced this type of situation. And we look at the last time, it was innovation and imagination that brought us out of it. If you look at the 20th century, as we came into the year 1900, you will find that this nation's population had a life expectancy of the average of around 46 or 47 years old. You will find that 10% of our population, only 10% of our population had high school degrees. And 10% of our medical doctors only had a traditional 4-year college degree. Forget a medical degree, only 10% of the doctors had a 4-year degree, which may explain why people are only living to be 46 or 47 years old. But if you look at those times, if you look at that century, it was tough times. World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, Korea, Vietnam, many recessions. But look at what happened. 1903, the Wright brothers imagined flight. And out of that, 65 years later, we landed a man on the moon. Today, the aerospace industry is one of the largest industries in the United States. All because those two guys with a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio, came to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And if you want to know the power of an entrepreneurship, look at that. Two brothers working at a bicycle shop, creating aerospace today. That's the power of entrepreneurship. You have the imagination of Henry Ford that said, let's do an assembly line and build the cars in a faster fashion, in a less expensive fashion, and all of a sudden, the automobile became available to the average person in America. During that 100 years, we had tremendous medical discoveries. We created radio, TV, the internet. Look at the progress that was made, and it's all because somebody imagined something. Entrepreneurs created new businesses. There is tremendous power in that. Some discoveries were accidental. I think if you look at the history of penicillin, that someone noticed mold growing on bread and thought, well, this may work. And I think that is something we need to understand. You need to be aware of what is around you. There are opportunities there that you never see. I know some of you have heard me tell the story of the two social scientists, true story, that went into the Washington, D.C. metro. They went there at rush hour and they started observing people as they went from the one station to the next station there with the subway. And you saw one guy walk in. He was kind of scruffy looking. He was carrying a case. And he went over to a corner and kind of just leaned up against the corner, slid down, opened his case and pulled out a violin. He began to play the violin. He played it beautifully. And many people were going by. Before he started playing, he opened the case and seated it with $1. And people would go by, some would stop for just a moment, put some money in. One little 10-year-old boy was mesmerized by the music. But his mother jerked him and said, come on, we've got to go. After about an hour, the $1 had grown to 35. Pretty good. But what those thousands of people in the Washington, D.C. metro did not understand is that they had missed the opportunity to listen to Joshua Bell, one of the greatest violinists in the world today. What those thousands of people didn't understand, they had missed the opportunity to listen to Joshua Bell play some of the greatest pieces Bach ever wrote. Those people did not understand they had missed the opportunity to listen to Joshua Bell play those pieces of Bach on a violin worth over $3 million. They didn't realize they had missed the opportunity to listen to Joshua Bell play that $3 million violin when the night before at a Boston Symphony Hall, everyone had paid over $100 a ticket to a sellout there just to listen to that man. What I'm saying is be aware of what is around you. Don't get caught up so much in your everyday life that you don't have that time to imagine. You don't have that time to appreciate. You don't have that time to innovate. You know, the innovators are the ones that have the courage and the guts to go forward with something. Every time I go into Bojangles, I admire that guy that patented the spork. I always wanted to be the person that patented the spork. I get that and I put it in my pinto beans and I think, I could have done that. I could have done that. But he did it because he had a simple vision and created something that everybody can use. I like the guys over in Charlotte with the company Inventus. They haven't invented anything, but they're leveraging everybody else's ideas. They have a website. Send us your ideas. They get over 10,000 a year, but we will vet them. If we think they are worthy of review, we'll send them to industry. If we think they're worthy of patent, we'll pay for this to go to patent. We'll provide that expertise. We'll prototype the product. We'll help you market it, and we'll share in the profits. Everything you see on TV for $19.95, if you buy one today, you'll get two. A lot of that is stuff that was generated out of Inventus in Charlotte. Not their idea, but using other people's idea, but they were imaginative in leveraging that. We have to encourage entrepreneurship. And we need to be innovative because new economies follow new inventions. You've seen that time and time again. We talked about the Wright brothers. We talked about Henry Ford. That's why I think education is so important. We're doing some great things in North Carolina. If you look at some of the things we've invested in years past, things like regenerative medicine out of Baptist Hospital. A guy named Dr. Tony Atala, a friend of mine, but he is growing bladders. He is growing hearts. He is growing heart valves. They are experimenting using amniotic stem cells, not embryonic, amniotic from the fluid around the baby. It grows rapidly, but it has less tumor risk. It is an amazing thing. He has been on 60 Minutes. North Carolina is a leader. They had 12 nations in a few years ago, and Tony asked me to be there. It's an amazing thing that he does. Over in Charlotte, they're studying and bringing forth photonics, the storage of information through the use of light. It is storing information at the speed of light. It is very secure, very important to our military, very important to the banking industry, very important to the insurance industry and the medical industry. We invested in cancer research. You talk about innovation and imagination. These are some of the greatest scientists in the world today. Dr. Victor Zhao at Duke Medical Center has said that with the investment we made at the Lineberger Cancer Center in Chapel Hill and collaboration, and again, collaboration is a key, I'll talk about it in a minute, that he thinks North Carolina could be the epicenter of cancer research. That is a very powerful message. And in biotech, because of imagination and vision, 1982, Governor Jim Hunt created something called the Biotech Center in North Carolina. Because of that, the Research Triangle Park, that vision and imagination has led to North Carolina being number 3 in biotech today. It's an economy growing 5 times faster than any other. So in this tough economy, it's been great to have something like that. If you're looking as an entrepreneur where you might want to invest your money, find out what will help Allied Health. The baby boomers are getting older. It's a huge economy. We need more doctors and nurses to attend to the baby boomers who are getting older. Any invention that helps them, any small business that can help that industry has a great chance of success. I've already mentioned biotech, the military-industrial complex. North Carolina is one of the greatest military presence in the United States of America with tremendous bases. And you say, oh, those are all down in eastern North Carolina. Indeed they are, but 85 counties have a military contractor in North Carolina. Ultra here in Cleveland County is a significant military contractor. And advanced manufacturing is still very viable, but it's advanced manufacturing. When we think of manufacturing in North Carolina, we think of physical strength and dexterity, but that's not what advanced manufacturing is about. It's more about robotics. I can take you to textile mills in the world today where the yarn enters the back door and the cloth exits the front door. It's never touched by human hand. Humans are there, but they're working the robots. I was saying that we need imagination because the world is changing. You know, China and India are now our competitors as well as all the other states. There was a lady that was 105 years old, and a newspaper reporter came to interview her and says, "Ma'am, what do you like most about being 105 years old?" She thought a moment, she said, "Lack of peer pressure." Well, if you think about it, our peer pressure now is across the world. The world is changing. We have to change with it. Some of you may have heard my story about the great Ty Cobb, the great ball player. He was 70 years old. He had retired to his hometown of Rome, Georgia. And a sports writer came down to interview him. He said, "Mr. Cobb, I've read your bio." He says, "You're one of the greatest players of all time." He says, "You're in the Hall of Fame." I said, "You're one of the few people to ever hit over 400. Less than 10 people have ever done that. That's amazing. But you have the highest lifetime batting average of anyone, 368. He says, "I don't think that's a record that anybody will ever beat. You're amazing." But the thing that impressed me most, Mr. Cobb, is you played professional baseball 24 seasons, and in 23 seasons you hit over 300. I am sure nobody will ever do that. But Mr. Cobb, the game's changed. The pitchers are bigger. They're throwing the ball faster. The curveball looks like it's falling off a cliff. If you were playing today, Mr. Cobb, what do you think you would hit?" Cobb thought a minute and says, "I don't know, 258, 268. He says, "Really, you think it would make that much difference?" He said, "Heck, man, I am 70 years old." Times change, and we have to change with it. What we're seeing is the corporate world is changing. Corporate America used to be like a pyramid with the presidents and vice presidents and deputies and everything else. You still have that, but today it's far more horizontal and less vertical. It's about smaller groups collaborating, working together, talking to one another, and they may be talking on computers. They may be talking to the person on the floor above them, or the city across the state, or across this United States. Or they may be collaborating with someone in Sweden and Argentina and Japan in the morning and a different group in the afternoon. That is the corporate culture of today. And the teamwork, that's why I was talking about Gardner-Webb working so well together. The ability to communicate, the ability to analyze, the ability to work in teams is far, far more important. It's called the soft skills. It's also been said that it's not what you know, but what you do with what you know. Because today, with Google and Bing and everything else, you can know anything. True story, I worked with a highway patrolman when I was lieutenant governor, and he told me the story about his little girl who was 6 or 7 years old. She came out of class in December, and she said, "Daddy, is there a Santa Claus?" He said, "Absolutely, honey, there's a Santa Claus. Don't you know he comes on Christmas Eve? Your mama and I are always glad to see Santa Claus come because you are always a good little girl." So the next day she comes out and she said, "Daddy, there's not a Santa Claus." He says, "Honey, who told you? How do you know that?" She said, "I Googled it." How do you respond to that? It's not what you know, but what you do with what you know. That's why we also must innovate in education. If you look at the unique new information coming at us, it is amazing what is coming at us each year. 1.5 exabytes of unique new information were delivered in the year 2000. That was equal to all of the unique new information generated in the 5,000 years before the year 2000. What that means when information is coming that rapidly at you is that what you know is changing. What you know will evolve and not become obsolete very, very soon. So it's not as important what you know today, but what you do with what you know and how you assimilate that information. What we need to do in education is something that we did not do in the past. Well, yeah, that's right. I think I said that correctly. We can't rely on the old graveyard method of instruction. The old graveyard method of instruction was line them up in rows, like they do in a graveyard, and expect them to be quiet and learn. That doesn't work. It has to be more interactive. It has to be more collaborative. It has to be about reasoning skills. It has to be about analytics. It has to be more project-based learning. We can customize education to a greater degree now because of computerized programs and let people move at their own pace. Parenthetically, I will tell you, we have seen cuts to education in North Carolina, which I think are disturbing, particularly when you consider this last year, 44 states increased their budgets on education. 4 states reduced it to 2-state level. North Carolina was one of the states that reduced it. If we're going to invest in those cutting-edge things, the photonics, the regenerative medicine, and things like that, I think we have to be careful. Some of you are old enough to remember Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite was probably the father of all news anchormen. He had great trust. In World War II, he was working for a company called United Press International, UPI. He loved UPI. It was the greatest press organization in the world, and he covered the war. CBS came to him in the early 40s, wanting him to come to work for them, and he said, no, I like United Press International. Nothing was better. But after the war, CBS came back to him, and UPI was cutting. They were cutting back, and if you Google it, if you go to Wikipedia, Cronkite said this: they kept chiseling around the edge of their greatness until only the sawdust was left. They kept chiseling around the edge of their greatness until only the sawdust was left. If you Google United Press International today, you will see that it says it was once a great press agency. Cronkite left and went with CBS and took it to new heights. To make sure that we have the innovators, to make sure we have the people that are going to engage their imagination, it is absolutely critical that we maintain a strong educational system and give everybody that opportunity to have the tools to compete. Everybody's about competition. Everybody's about a free market. I'm about that. I was a business major. I understand that. But to have true competition, everybody has to have the ability to compete. I have said it's not competition when one team walks on the field with new uniforms and the best coaching, and the other team walks on the field barefooted and they don't know the rules. But when you equip everybody to compete and engage everybody's imagination and innovation, then everybody gets better. And that's what we do need to be about. To exceed as entrepreneurs, I think you're going to find out that you're really not going to do it by yourself. You're going to have people supporting you. You're going to have a belief and faith in what you do. You're going to need some type of anchor for you. Now, here at Gardner-Webb University, they anchor things in the Christian faith, and I can think of no greater anchor than that, because it takes courage if you're going to start a business. An entrepreneur once said, you know, I started this business 20 years ago with nothing, and I think I still have half of it left. Another one said, if you want to increase your success rate, you need to double your failure rate. You've got to have that courage to go forward. Winston Churchill once said, success is never permanent, failure is never fatal. The only thing that endures is courage. You've got to have that courage. And here at Gardner-Webb University, I think you can slash the word courage and put faith, because it's in that faith that gives you the courage to go forward. And I applaud them for their focus on that. In conclusion, I will tell you that imagination and innovation are very, very powerful. And ethics is the foundation for that imagination and innovation to move forward, to have that credibility where you can succeed. Just imagine an ethical world. Just imagine a time of full employment. Just imagine a time where everyone has prosperity and can fulfill the American dream. If any of these things happen, it will be because of people with imagination, people who are willing to innovate and have the courage to do so. It will be because of entrepreneurs. That is why this conference is so important, because it can happen because of you. Thank you for the opportunity. Again, thanks to Gardner-Webb for giving me a wonderful experience, and thank them also for giving me the opportunity to address you today. Thank you.
Take some questions. We have any? Does anyone have from the audience have a question? We thought maybe with the new move in the legislature reducing bonuses for master level pay, that you might have this background there as to part of that committee at one time, that you might have some interest there. We certainly appreciate your words. Step back up here. We have a plaque for you as a distinguished executive speaker in our summer conference. We certainly appreciate your words and the guidance they offer us. Thank you for being a part of who we are.